Hey guys, welcome to my kitchen. Today we are going to be cooking with Flora and I'm going to be using Flora Gold specifically. I really like this one because it's made with 100% plant-based oils. So you get that really great feel of sunflower oil coming through in all of your recipes. So the first thing we're going to do is we are prepping our recipe. Hey guys, welcome to my kitchen. Today we are going to be cooking with Flora and I am going to be using Flora Gold specifically. I really like this one because it's made with 100% plant-based oils. So you get that really great feel of sunflower oil coming through in all of your recipes. So the first thing we're going to do is we are prepping our recipe, and the recipe today is going to be chicken stir fry. So we're starting with something basic and delicious at the same time, and taking into account that we're in the middle of a lockdown, we want to use basic simple ingredients that are still going to give you the best flavors possible. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm using a small bowl and I'm going to create a sauce with all the ingredients that I have. We're going to put that aside, saute our chicken just so that both sides are nice and brown, take that out, and then we're going to do the vegetables and add everything together. So it's a nice simple recipe that you can use for dinner or lunch or whenever you feel like cooking something really, really healthy. So let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to do in my little bowl is we're adding in 2 tablespoons of the Flora Gold fat spread. Now because this is really soft, it's going to be very easy to whisk all of these ingredients together. It's so creamy. So we're going to be using that and putting that aside. Then we are going to be using some crushed garlic. You can use whole garlic if you have. It's just that at the moment it's looking like whatever you can get, buy that. So I have some crushed garlic and I'm going to be using 2 tablespoons of the garlic. And then we're going to be following that up with some crushed ginger as well. By all means, if you want to get it nice and crushed, you can use a mortar and pestle to get it really, really smooth. Alternatively, you could just put it into a blender. So I'm just going to be using a tablespoon of this. I know it's going to seem like you're adding a lot of ingredients to seemingly an easy recipe, but trust me, the flavors are going to come through amazingly. So next I'm going to be using a fresh lime. I'm going to be cutting it in half and we're going to be using that to create a little bit of sourness or a little bit of a zest to our full recipe. Just a quick tip that I thought I would share with you guys is that if you don't have a juicer nearby, a really quick way to get the juice out of a lemon or a lime, orange, is just put your little spoon inside, a teaspoon I'm going to be using, and you just kind of twist it a few times and the juice comes out really, really easy. So I'm just doing that for about a tablespoon of lime juice. And we're going to put that aside. Next up, we are going to be using some sweet chili sauce. I'm going to be using 2 tablespoons of this as well. You have so many beautiful flavors in here. So the ginger and the garlic are going to add a beautiful, strong taste, and then the sweet chili and the lime are going to give us a sweet and sour taste at the same time. The soy sauce, we're going to be using 2 tablespoons as well. Because we are adding in quite a bit of soy sauce, you don't need to add salt. You can add it at the end just to taste, but it's not necessary. Right, so second lastly, we're going to be using some peanut butter, which may seem a little bit arbitrary to some of you, but trust me, this really does come out amazing. And you can use about 2 tablespoons. And it doesn't matter if it's crunchy or soft because with the stir fry and the vegetables, you're not going to notice the difference at all. So we're just going to use that over there. And then lastly, we are going to just put in 165 ml of coconut milk. Make sure when you're using coconut milk or coconut cream, you are shaking the tin very well because a lot of the content sits at the top, makes it like really, really thick, and it doesn't come into your recipe when you're trying to use it. So just give it a good shake. Okay, so we can use about 165 mils. There we go. And we're going to add that in. So for this part, we're going to be using our whisk, and we're going to be whisking everything together. I'm just breaking down a few of the ingredients because obviously the peanut butter is a little bit hard, and you want to separate the garlic and ginger so it's not all clumped into one space. Remember, for the sauce of this recipe, we are not looking for like that really smooth consistency because we do have other factors like crushed ginger, garlic, crunchy peanut butter, sweet and chili sauce. So the only thing really smooth here is the Flora, actually. So if it's a little bit lumpy, it's totally fine. It's just going to be incorporated into our recipe anyway. So when this is all done, it's got like a nice, beautiful beige color. We are going to be putting this aside, and then we're going to start cutting up our chicken fillets. So we have 4 chicken fillets here. I am going to be using 2, and I'm going to show you why I do that now. So the chicken fillets are quite thick, as you can see, and just so that I have a bit of an easier time cooking them in the wok, what I like to do is kind of split them in half and then cut them into little strips. That means they can cook quicker, and you know that they definitely are going to be done. So there's already a slit in this one, so I just basically follow that through to make it a lot easier. So now you can see it's a lot thinner, and then I'm going to do the same with the other chicken breast. There we go. So now at this point, I'm just going to cut them diagonally, and those are going to create our little chicken strips for the stir fry. So they look really, really cute. They're really thin. And we are definitely looking for that when we are making our stir fry, because you want it to be as simple as possible and not stand over the stove the whole day. Okay. If you have a bigger family or you're cooking for more people, then obviously you can use more chicken fillets. The recipe for the sauce should actually be totally fine. Mine's just going to have a lot more sauce, but a lot more sauce for about 2 more chicken breasts is enough for this recipe, I think. And now what we are going to do is add some Flora Gold, about 2 tablespoons, into our wok, and then we're going to fry those off so both sides are nice and brown. Remove that, and then we're going to add in the sauce and the stir-fry vegetables. So on the stove, I put my wok on top, and I'm going to be putting it on to about a medium heat, and that's going to heat it up nicely. And then we're going to add in 1 tablespoon of Flora, and that is going to coat the pan beautifully. So just a nice tablespoon will be good. Let's try and get that off. There we go. And that is going to get nice and golden. And then we are going to add in our chicken strips that we just cut. Once this is basically melted off, you don't want to put it in before, because it's just going to lie there in the Flora. It's not going to be doing anything. So you want this to first get nice and warm. As you can see, it's already working, and the Flora is being spread beautifully around the whole wok. remember, we aren't sauteing any herbs, any spices, so there's no garlic or ginger going into this. We're just putting in the chicken. We're going to brown each side really nicely, and then we're going to add in a bit of the sauce. So this is sizzling really, really nicely. I'm going to be adding in all the chicken at once. I'm not going to do it in parts because I won't be able to keep a check of essentially what's being browned and what's not. So here's all my chicken. Putting that all inside. So this should take about 5 minutes in total. And when that's done, we are going to be adding in the sauce, letting that coat just enough, and then we're going to remove the chicken entirely. So the chicken's been cooking for about 2.5 to 3 minutes right now. It's getting brown, but it's still very golden. So we want both sides to be looking a little bit like this. So we're not going to take it out until all of the chicken looks like that. Okay, so it's been about 5 minutes, and now I just want to show you what I'm looking for when I'm making the stir fry. So you want it to look like that. So it's nice and brown. And now we're going to lower the temperature and add in our sauce. Only half of the sauce, because the other half is going to be going into the vegetables. So we're going to lower the temp. They have a stunning, stunning color now. So now you know that they're basically done, and now it's just ready for the sauce. And the end of the recipe is in sight. So this is our sauce that we were using earlier. I'm just going to give it another stir, just to make sure that everything is not sinking to the bottom. And I'm going to be adding half of it to the chicken. The peanut butter really, really comes through. It tastes incredible. And it's just going to soften beautifully like this. And the chicken is going to just absorb all of the sauce. And we're going to leave it on a low temperature so it doesn't need to burn. It just needs to slowly absorb the sauce. And then we're going to move on to our veggies. So we're only going to be leaving the sauce and the chicken in here for 2 minutes. So maybe about 30, 40 seconds left. And then we're going to take the chicken and the sauce out completely of the wok and put that into a separate dish. Then we are going to be adding in a little bit more Flora, the vegetables so that they can cook through, and then more sauce. And then at the very end, we're going to bring the chicken back in. I'm still using the same wok. I'm not going to clean it. The Flora doesn't burn at all, so there is no residue that needs to be removed at all. So I'm just going to use the same one, and the same flavors are going to be introduced into the vegetables as well as the chicken. So it's getting nice and sticky now. As you can see, the sauce is reduced beautifully. We are looking at a nice, almost caramel looking sauce. It looks amazing, and it smells even better. And now I'm going to be taking it out. I'm going to be putting it into a separate dish. And this is just going to be sitting on the side when we do our next step. So I just turned the wok on to small to medium heat. I'm going to be adding in a tablespoon of Flora, letting that melt really beautifully, and then the veggies, and then the rest of the sauce. So you can see there's still a little bit of the sauce left. That's perfectly normal. We are going to be leaving that in, as this is all the same recipe. We're going to be adding another tablespoon into the pan, and I'm going to be giving it a nice stir. So basically what I did is I used stir-fry veggies, and they've all been julienned very nicely. Julienne is a nice way of saying that they've been cut really finely into straight lines. So we've been using some pineapple, carrots, zucchini, and a few peppers as well. So we're having a bit of a Hawaiian stir-fry, if you will. And now that this is nice and warm, it's getting a beautiful golden color, we're going to be adding in about 400 to 500 grams of our stir-fry mix. I'm going to give this a nice mix so it can nicely incorporate into the Flora. And once these veggies become nice and softened, we are going to be adding in the sauce as the final step. So the stir-fry medley is looking amazing right now. I can smell all the natural flavors coming through. It's nice and soft, so now I'm going to go ahead and add in our sauce, the rest of the sauce that we're using for the chicken. And as you can see, there's a little bit of water that's come out of the veggies, but that's perfectly normal. We are now just going to be adding in the sauce, and that's just going to create an even more thicker sauce. So here we go, the rest of the sauce. We're just going to drizzle that all over. I put my heat on a little bit higher so it can crisp the vegetables at the same time so they don't become too soggy in the sauce. So this whole process should take us about 2 to 5 minutes, depending on how reduced you want your sauce to get. So I want mine to be nice and thick, so I'm going to give it about 4 minutes. And then I'm going to toss in my chicken, and then we're going to just add a little bit of chopped coriander on top, and bon appetit. Okay, so this sauce has reduced really, really beautifully. It's nice and thick now, as you can see. And now we're just going to toss in the rest of our chicken, and then we're going to be plating up. So the chicken has a beautiful, beautiful color, and now we're going to be adding that right into the stir fry with all the sauce. These flavors and smells coming from this wok is amazing. Such a beautiful, easy recipe. You can obviously serve this with some noodles if you want to starch, or some rice, brown rice, quinoa, any starch you like. Frankly, I really like it like this. It's really light and it's very, very tasty. So now we're going to move on to plating, and then we're going to eat. So now we are finally done with our entire cooking process, and now what I'm going to do is show you guys how I like to plate my stir fry. The first thing that I do is use fresh coriander. I give it a good rinse, and just a little tip, I like to basically cut off as much stalk as possible, because I find that the stalk actually makes your dish a little bit bitter. So I use as many leaves as possible with minimal amount of stalks. So what I'm going to do is give this a quick dice so it's nice and fine. Obviously, give it a good rinse before you use it, just so that there's no excess sand, which honestly does happen a lot of the time. So now that that's all done, I'm going to chop up, or rather just slice a few limes, because you may want them as just like a side to add to your dish, a little bit more sour. So we're just going to slice these two up. And now I'm going to be dishing my stir fry. So it's all done, it's all cooked, and it's nicely combined into each other, the vegetables and the chicken. The peanut butter and the sweet and sour really, really come through. So this is a nice helping that looks super yummy. And just to plate it off, I'm going to be adding in a little bit of the chopped coriander on top, along with some limes on the side. And that is how you make a really, really simple stir fry using Flora spread. That's the only thing that I used the whole recipe, and it didn't burn the chicken, it didn't burn the vegetables. It actually created a beautiful flavor with the plant-based oils inside the Flora. So I hope you guys really, really enjoyed that, and you can head over to Flora to find the recipe. Hey guys, welcome to my kitchen. Today we are going to be